Hi, this is Nick Lowry, my good buddy Damon Corneely, and I'm here today to talk a little bit about Tomiki's early work called Judo Taiso. In the Tomiki form of Aikido training, Judo Taiso is probably the earliest form that we can find any evidence of a systematic form of reducing all of Aikido movement down to its simplest constituent elements. In some forms or some systems of training, it's referred to as like a training alphabet. So if our techniques and our patterns of movement as we're doing techniques in Aikido are to be considered words and phrases, then the basic alphabet of movement coming down to its most succinct form would be what he was aiming at. And in this analysis that I'm going to present today, we're going to take a look at how it evolves and a few applications that may result from the earliest forms all the way up into the later forms that we can find evidence for. With the proliferation of all the video these days on YouTube, with different examples to look at from these early examples in the black and white film from 1951-52 era, I would guess, all the way up through Senta Yamada's film that you see from about 1959 or the early 60s, and then even later films that can be found with Mr. Tomiki demonstrating these forms. As they changed over time, you can sort of get an idea of the evolution of the thinking and what was going on in it. When I first ran into this piece of film with Mr. Tomiki, it's the old black and white film, usually titled Judo Taiso. I didn't know how to react to it. It was so different from the type of training in terms of walking form that I had been trained in our particular system that it puzzled me indeed and caused me a lot of confusion. And for years, I didn't even really look at it too much. And then one of the students the other day asked a question about it, and that sort of sparked a reinterpretation, and this work that we're about to do is a result of that. When we work with it, the first thing to note is that it's broken into the two sections, the classical sections, that you have a footwork section called Unsoku and a handwork section called Tandoku. So we're going to begin right with the earliest part and kind of compare and contrast our own particular preferences for how we do the walking forms with this earliest stuff and go forward from there. When you take Unsoku and you look at this old film, a few things spring right out. The first thing that I noticed was that as he's doing it, I'll line up on this line here, his body stays very much on this line. It's not diverging over as a form of evasion, for instance. And as it cycles forward on this line, he does it very rapidly. So in his movement, his arms are down at his side. It's done about that quick. The entire sequence of 17 separate movements that he does for this Judo Taiso exercise takes place in maybe a minute 20 seconds. That rapidity and the fact that it's cycling fore and aft like this indicated to me that this is not a movement that we're looking at in terms of evasion per se, but far more linked to what we think of in judo as assaulting him and changing sides. So if I have Damon come here, cool, and we have a basic judo relationship here. If I cycle in towards him and let my foot stop, for instance, and get settled, and then come back and let my foot cycle in the other direction, I get a little bit of affect out of him just because we've changed sides, but he can compensate for that very readily. So if we do it more like what I'm seeing happening in this Judo Taiso video, we have a position that goes in, cycles out, and in again. And now we have a whole different reference. I'll do it end on to the camera here. I'm cycling in with my left foot, back foot turning, and then boom, right here. And maybe we'll do it this way as well so you see a different angle. In, cycle, in. That sort of changing in the foot cycle, which feels very natural in a judo context, is a useful tool, but it is dependent on letting that foot float. You see how the back foot floats. You cycle in, float, cycle in. If you go all the way in and settle, all the way back and settle, all the way in and settle, all the way back and settle, you kill that potentiality. You kill the potentiality of changing from side to side. Another way to represent this, or to see an application of the same idea, would be if we line this up like we're doing a push, like two hands push, for more Aikido aspect. Let's start over here a little bit. And if I'm walking at him and I deliver a little energy, and he absorbs that energy in this kind of foot relationship, he absorbs that energy again in the same kind of foot relationship. If I take the next step and cause the energy to come out the different vector because of the difference in the feet, we can see in his body, we'll do end on again, I'm coming at him, coming at him, coming at him different, just by changing the foot, letting that back foot float up and be ready to step off in the different line. Is that what Mr. Tomiki was talking about when he was shuffling his feet in this particular fashion? I can't say. I don't have a crystal ball that could read his mind. But I can say that when I think of it and I place it in judo context, it's a very valuable tool right here. Very valuable tool to be able to lay pressure on him in a given line, retract it, and then enter on this opposite line or this square line from where we just were. So I'd encourage you to try it that way. And if you want to work on this a little bit just to get a feel for it, I'd encourage you to start in a judo context. Pressure, release, change, and feel that little body rise that it provokes. Then come out, say down to the level of the elbows. So we're getting a little more distance. We'll try it again slowly. Pressure in, release, change. Good. Come all the way down to the level of the wrists and hands. Pressure in, release, change. Good. And you can do it back to me. Slide that foot in, let the back foot float and immediately change. Good. Now you kind of had a little pause. So make the change immediate. In, let the back foot float, back in. There you go. Good, good. One more time. In, float in. Yeah, good, good. It interrupts my foot cycle as I'm trying to pace with him naturally. Very useful tool. Can do it very subtly over time. And they won't even know what hit them. So you can take this, and I do take this to be contextually something that can be applied all the way from standard judo positioning and standard judo operating all the way out to something that can be done right at the fingertips and light as a feather like this. Weird, huh? Okay. That's the first move that we're seeing in basically the old Judo Taiso film. So play with it, see what you come up with, and we'll go through the order one by one. Okay, thank you.